Hello, and welcome to another episode of eBay Scavengers at ebayscavengers.com. This is episode number 90.
Wow.
Can you believe it?
That's
We're almost
cool.
at 100.
That's awesome.
Wow.
Does it mean anything?
No.
Nope.
So this week on our store is what we're talking about. It felt like a slow week.
Well, I didn't feel like it. The numbers actually showed we made almost half of what we made the week before.
Oh my God.
And it was just literally a very slow week. I mean...
Yeah, it's funny though, because some days feel slow even though you're selling, incrementally. It's just a lot of time goes between each sale, but...
Yeah.
This week was actually...
Also, we were selling
slow.
a lot of really low-dollar items. I mean, we've been trying to stock our store with more high-dollar items, but we still have plenty of $15 things and $12 items.
Yeah.
And it's good to get rid of those things, but probably people just on a post-Christmas,
I want to
quiet
say
time.
February last year was also slow. I guess I could look at the numbers from last year in our sales report and just compare.
But as we always say, the reason why we don't really worry too much is just because the most important thing is the number at the end of a month. So I'm suspecting we had a good first week in February, and we'll see what these next 2 weeks are like. I'm assuming it'll all average out, and we'll probably make as much as we normally make,
Yeah, I hope so.
So that has been our experience for the past 4 years or so. It's since we've been really doing this full time, and I've been keeping track of our numbers that, slow days, slow weeks, it all seems to even out in the end.
Right.
And like we always say, when it's slow, we've really been cranking through the inventory this week, especially you, Ryan.
Yeah, I've been listing a lot. I've been trying to. I just get up, I get my coffee, and I sit on the couch and I list. It's pretty comfy.
She sits on the couch by the wood stove and just listen to a music or the news and just lists.
Yep. So this week we also made another video. We made a video with Jay. Jay's in the video this week.
That's right.
And he's showing people how we photograph items.
Yes, someone actually suggested that, and we said, sure, why not? So I just show how I photograph an item, all different angles. We show the kind of camera. We show the kind of lighting we use. And, it's very simple, and you can check out the video at ebayscavengers.com. And I just hope it shows people that it does not have to be a fancy. I'm sure there are people out there that are probably better photographers than we are. They might have a setup with umbrellas or something, but
you don't need that, really.
I'm really just in a room with a lot of big windows with natural light, and I just photograph things on a nice wood stool against a white wall. And
that's it. Now, Jay shows a pair of shoes, but that's pretty much how we do every item.
Yeah.
So
everything. Yeah.
Every single item.
I think that the key is really angles, showing multiple angles of things. I just find a lot of people who sell on eBay, they either take one photo or they take 2 or 3. And really for any item, we really do maybe 5 or 6 at least.
I mean, minimum. I literally have some items where I had 35 photos.
And those are really expensive items.
That's like an antique typewriter.
Yeah, I find that the more money we expect someone to pay, the more work we're willing to put into it. Because if we expect someone to pay $200, $800, $1,200.
You want to show every tiny little flaw or angle or detail, texture, color, anything.
Yep. So check that out.
So this week, I noticed, I don't know if anyone else got this, I'm sure they did. I had bought some stuff on eBay, just some random magnifying glasses and stuff for photographing, and eBay sent a weather disruption email because there was some really bad weather this week. So that was kind of cool of them to just be like, hey, you might, not get your package right away because there's severe weather on the East Coast. So I thought that was interesting. I never got one of those, probably because I don't buy as often as I sell stuff. So that was interesting.
We got some interesting news. Adam from it's Mysterious Caravan, who we've interviewed a couple times, and recently we just got an update on the store. He wrote us and said that his wife is quitting her job. She put in her 2 weeks.
She put in her 2 weeks last week, so this is probably her last week.
And she's going to be selling on eBay full time.
So they're really... They're doing it. They're jumping off the cliff, so to speak.
So they have a newborn baby, so she'll be taking care of the baby as well as during the day, I guess, putting in some time.
Yeah, listing
and doing inventory. And then Adam will still have his full-time job, but, he's been doing the store full-time anyway, just off hours.
Right.
So that'll be cool,
Yeah, they're really going to pick up the pace. It's going to be cool to see them.
That always knows when it's really becoming serious when you actually quit a job.
That's for real. Yeah. But it's good. I think the cool thing about quitting a job is, you can put as much time as you want into eBay and you can really ramp up your store. I mean, they have a baby, so that takes up a lot of time too.
And, people have talked about it. It seems like if you probably have a good job or, I don't know, a stable job with like really great benefits, and I bet that's really hard to quit. But it sounds like she had a really bad job.
She didn't enjoy her job.
And that was kind of our experience too. We were just starting to get like really terrible work, and we were just like,
just mediocre stuff that was like, I remember us being like, should we take this gig? Or should we stay home and just list a bunch more?
Right. And,
And you see what won.
So I guess everyone has that point of pain where you feel like whatever security a job can give you just isn't worth the pain, the mental and spiritual pain of actually going to that job. And the risk of actually going full-time eBay, starts to be appealing.
Yeah, absolutely.
So anyway, it'll be great to get an update from Adam in another 6 months and see.
Hopefully, we'll actually talk to his wife.
Yeah, I think Adam's really good, and I appreciate with all eBayers who do this. He's really good knowing what his numbers are.
Yes.
That's really important to take the stress out of, is this going to work or not? Because really it's all about the numbers. If you know how much money you're making on every week, every month, and you can kind of see a pattern of consistency, then okay, as long as I keep my inventory up, I'm probably going to make this amount of money.
And if you know the numbers, of your household and what you need every month.
Right.
I mean, that's your whole thing. You're like, we need this much.
That's
when we have extra, we save it or we pay off debt faster.
I mean, and that's a good segue. Someone was asking about, how we stay frugal, and I guess we'll answer that in its questions. But that's really important for us. I mean, the less money we spend, the less concern we have about how much money we need to make on eBay.
Right, because we have a buffer.
And it's totally not about having a lifestyle that is poor or like we're
scraping by
sitting around
like
wishing we had all these things. It's really about just cutting out just a lot of fat in our lives,
Yeah, I guess we'll talk about that more. I have some things I want to talk about with that. Okay, so one issue I wanted to bring up, which I've been having the last few weeks, is buyers who don't pick up their package when they get a notice, if they have a P.O. box or an apartment. Or I had this one woman last night, I had this big piece of artwork, I custom packed it, like it was a delicate piece. I was like, yes, I'm getting this out, she's gonna get it Monday. And then she writes me last night and she's like, oh, you didn't put my apartment number on my shipping address, which obviously, as all sellers know, it's not my responsibility to put her apartment number on her shipping address. That's her responsibility. So, what I did was I gave her the tracking number, even looked up her local post office on USPS.com, gave her the phone number and the address and said, please call them first thing Monday morning at 8 a.m. and give them your apartment number, or go there with the tracking number and pick it up. Because the worst thing is that package gets sent back to me and then I have to reship it and I have to ask her for shipping cost again.
Or she decides she doesn't want to pay to ship it again, and then because we don't do free shipping, that's a good example. We won't lose any money on it, but we'll have to refund her for the price of the item, and we'll
lose
sell
the sale. Yeah, well, basically, we'll lose the sale. Any way you can avoid to lose that sale, you want to just make sure that you give them as much information as possible. Like, I've done that several times with people. I'll look up the post office closest to their house and give them the address and the phone number, just like, please just go get it. So,
and we actually got some neutral feedback this week. Because it was slow, we often start taking offers that are really low, and someone offered us a really low offer on like a vintage Levi's coat that we had, a denim jacket, and we'd had it for a while, and it was a really low offer, but we were like, let's just sell it. And it seems like this always happens. The most trouble comes from the people wanting the craziest deals. So we're basically giving this thing away to her, and she gets it, and she leaves us neutral feedback without talking to us at all, because she said it was dirtier than she thought it was. And then she actually tried to wash it, and it had a leather on it.
Yeah, leather collar.
And she said the leather started to deteriorate, which is kind of crazy because you aren't really supposed to wash leather in the wash.
I would think that she'd get it dry cleaned.
And so she opened a case and she wanted a refund. We just give her a refund. We just don't fool around with it.
I didn't want it back. She initiated an automatic return, and so before she like printed any shipping label or anything, we wrote to her right away, and we were like, we don't want the jacket back. Here's your full, total refund. I think what sucks about that is she gave us neutral feedback before she initiated a return or before she contacted us. So you're like,
but I think it is one of those examples of it just happens.
Yeah.
Like, we just have to eat it. And in some cases, we're a little bit at fault. I mean, the jacket was a little older. But we were very clear in the descriptions of photos, but we just
there's only so much you can do.
Right.
If you have a buyer who's just like hell bent on getting a refund or leaving bad feedback, there's just so much you can do.
Like, I definitely felt it in me where I could have spent a week really getting into it and like emailing her and really going at it, but it's just like it's worth
over $18.
Yeah. So we just keep selling.
So I blocked her.
Feedback. Yep.
I mean, that's what happens. I'm like, this person will never buy from me again. The end.
Yeah.
Recently, Jay found an article on New York Times about new shipping rules to Russia. I don't know if this is because of the Olympics or something. It just happens to be happening right now. But I guess Russia is really cracking down on people buying stuff online in other countries and importing it. And so they're making it really tough for individuals to get packages to their house directly. And I saw this because I sent someone a little item through global shipping in Russia, and they wrote to me and said, Russian customs would not deliver this to me for whatever reasons. So please resend it using like the regular post office mail. So I don't know if I'll even get it back from eBay Global Shipping. They might just refund the buyer and let me keep the money, and I don't know what they do with the...
Well, I find like this is just happening everywhere, even in our country here, that, governments are starting to realize that online sales are just huge and growing more and more, and they're wanting more of a piece of it. So, even in this country, in Congress, they're fighting, internet sales tax, they call it, and states want their sales tax, and it's just, so far we're okay, but the Wild West of online sales seems to be slipping away. It's going to get more and more kind of regulated, and I like roads and libraries and schools, so sales have to taxes have to be paid. But just as long as it doesn't, it burden a regular person too much.
I just think it's unfortunate that, I don't know what it's like in Russia in terms of postal stuff, so maybe that's just the way it goes. But I think that's going to really boost the sales of those people who buy in the U.S. and then take a flight to Russia with like a bag full of stuff, because they'll be able to get the stuff over there. So I don't know, maybe there's ways they're going to skirt around that. Okay, so eBay Valet program, the eBay Sell For Me, I got the label in the mail and I sent them some stuff. I don't think I told you that.
Oh, wow, okay.
We have piles of clothes, so I just picked some stuff that I thought was, nice, and I have no idea if they'll sell it.
I think we're doing it more as just an experiment, not that we think it's a good program for us, just because we looked into the numbers and they say it has to sell for more than $50.
At least $50 retail.
And they want things that are almost pristine. They don't want any.
So
they they really don't want any kind of vintage items. They want you know, like they basically want. It's for people who are too lazy to list it themselves.
Yep.
And they want people to send stuff to them to sell versus go and drop it off at Goodwill, where then people like us would pick it up and resell it. So they want people to send their iPhones and fancy shoes and things like that.
Yeah, so I'm sure they'll look at my stuff and be like, this is not worth, $30.
But it's an experiment, and we'll, keep people updated on how that works.
So I'm in the process of it, so we'll see what happens.
This is a totally random thing that I just thought I would link to on the blog. It's called Rich Kids of Instagram.
I hate rich kids of Instagram.
And for those of you who don't know, Instagram is just like a photo sharing. It's network. And what someone has done is they have subscribed to all these rich kids. And I don't mean rich like, have a little bit of...
Like preppy kids from your high school.
I'm talking about... The kids of the super rich, of the 1%. I mean, and the photos they post publicly are amazing. It's these kids in their teens and 20s, and they're hanging out in clubs. They're on private jets. They show the insides of their houses. They call it arm candy, which is like all their watches and bracelets that cost more than like everything you've ever owned in your life, basically. I find drinking out of like huge bottles, like these gigantic bottles of champagne.
Ace of Spades, isn't that what it's called? Right. I don't know why I know that, but yeah. So the thing about this website is it's like they go to a club on a Friday night. And they drop $35,000.
They actually
that's how much money they spend.
They take photographs of the
bill
that they pay, and they're like $35,000 for an evening out at a club.
It's horrifying. I find that website to be so horrifying, but in a good way, because it really exposes how the other half lives. The other, actually just 1% lives.
And I guess if I have a reason to a link to it, I was talking to a guy that runs one of our local a thrift stores. He does estate sales, so he cleans out people's houses. And he says that what is blowing up are the sales to the super rich. So he, will clean out a house and he'll sell artwork, really expensive artwork. And he just says the rich people are just blowing cash on all these items because they have so much, it's money, and they have all these houses that they have to fill that, people like him are just making a killing selling really old, nice furniture and art. And so I think that this site just shows you, it's just not rich. It is just like...
It's not even...
When you just don't even care what something costs because you just have so much money. It's amazing.
I don't understand. I think it's really, really, really difficult for me to look at that website because... No, I'm serious, because I look at it and I'm like, okay, on a Friday night, you and I, we went to the movies last night. The movies cost $18 at our local theater, and then we went out to have pizza, and that was $16. And I'm like, damn... That was pricey. And these guys blew $35K a night.
And I think, too, it's not about being envious or, I don't want them to have it. It's more just, there is a conversation in this country about how there is a strange, there's something coming back, this Gilded Age where there's just this inequality that's very... just seems like things are unbalanced, So, anyway.
Yeah.
This is a good site just to kind of give you a good image of what that imbalance it looks like.
Why don't they shop in our store on eBay?
Yeah.
They don't need our old sweaters.
Yeah.
Yep. Okay, so another note after you take a shower, after you watch the Rich Kids of Instagram. We had a couple offers this week. When you do make an offer, there's people can write terms with free shipping or whatever. And I had a couple offers that actually the story they sent with the offer made me decline them. So I have this big set of silverware. It's 80 pieces. It's basically a complete set of this vintage mid-century flatware. It's not silver. It's stainless steel. And it's gorgeous. And this guy gave me an offer and he was like, well, I already have this set. I just need a few pieces of it. So I'll have doubles of like most of this stuff that I don't need. And I immediately was like, decline. Because it made me feel like he wasn't appreciating what I was selling.
Right. Or another guy, we had a Pendleton blanket, and he offered a really low offer. And he basically just said, this blanket isn't worth what I'm offering you.
Right. What an ass.
And I see other buyers do this at flea markets. Like, I think it's a really rude thing to tell a seller, like, give it to me cheap because what you're selling is junk. And
right.
I know we just decline those people, and we'll even block people just because I just think it's a bad technique of it's negotiating a price.
It's like, why would you want to sell something to someone who thinks what you're selling is crap?
Right.
I mean, first of all, they don't, because why would they want it?
Right.
You know, I mean, it's a negotiation technique to be like, this is junky, but I'll buy it anyway.
I guess some sellers are either hungry for a sale or they don't have enough confidence in their own items that when someone says that to them that they think, oh, maybe they're right.
Yeah, so, it's not worth it.
Okay, here, I'll give it to you for nothing.
What's funny is it's a plaid Pendleton, like tartan plaid wool blanket. It's beautiful. It's pristine. It has the label. It has 25 watchers, which is very high. So I'm like, yeah, buddy, whatever.
Well, he messed with I mean, we just don't.
But
we don't fool around with that.
It's just a good lesson to remember, like, you know, you can decline people and you can block them. If they're being assholes, there's just really no reason to deal with people like that.
And I think it's just going back to what we were talking about a week ago is that, you know, we really encourage sellers to have faith and confidence in what they sell. I mean, if you really think what you have is quality, you know, put a good quality price on it and stick to it. You know, if you are honest about your inventory and maybe it's your new and you have been buying some junky stuff, then, you know, sell that stuff and replace it. It's with actual quality items. Right. You know.
But don't let people be like, this is crap, sell it to me cheap. Yeah, I don't think so.
Yeah. And then the last thing before we get to the It's questions, here on the East Coast, it's definitely been cold, but we've had some warm days where it feels like spring, and it just reminds me that a yard sale season is coming. Yep. And flea market season's coming.
Yeah, like there was one warm day last week, and we were doing some workout in our yard, and I could just tell that Jay was like, I want to go to the flea market. I'm like, it's going to be cold tomorrow, trust me.
I mean, part of me feels like, God, I want a winter to last a little longer because we're getting so much done. You know, we aren't going out and buying things as much, so we're kind of getting through all of our unlisted inventory. But as soon as yard sale season starts is when the piles begin.
Yeah,
because, you know.
But that's kind of the advice we gave to Adam because he lives in a very cold Midwestern state. It's like you got to pile it up in the spring and summer, and then you got to list it all winter.
That's what we did.
You know, and that's what we've been doing. We've been trying to.
Oh, and then one last thing. So Ryan bought an acid test kit for
I was listing a bunch of jewelry. Like I had a pile of jewelry that it's kind of tough to take pictures of jewelry because you got to get up close and use a magnifying glass and identify it and all that stuff. So I've been procrastinating on that. But there are several things that I'm like, this is designer costume jewelry. I wonder if it's gold plated. I don't know how to tell. So you can buy these acid tests. It's not like acid that will burn through a table or anything, I don't think. But you have these little droppers that you can put on gold or silver or platinum, and the liquid will turn color depending on what the composition is.
So it's like 18 karat or
18 karat, 22 14, karat, 14 karat, 10 karat,
and
all that
I mean,
stuff.
and you know, we're always like not into doing the gold and silver thing because as we see these guys, because it seems like it's mainly men. Yeah. They have a little jeweler's loop and they're at the flea market or at the estate sales and they're going through all the jewelry. But there's one guy who goes to one of our local stores and he only focuses on jewelry mainly. And Ryan thinks he found this guy's store and he's selling jewelry for like $300 because he figures it's like because it's like 18 karat or 22 karat.
And because he's like, it's unmarked, but I've tested this as 18 karat. So we can sell it for like $400 for like a brooch. I'm like, I need to test this because
every time I see him, I always like eye him and he sees me And I've asked him if he sells, and he doesn't really say. And
I'm going to call that the seller stare, because you know someone else is a seller, but every time we ask him, he's like, oh, I just collect whatever. But that's what we say to people, too, when they ask us.
Yeah.
We never admit it.
Yeah.
Because I don't want to tell people.
Yeah, because as we always say, because then it always leads to it's questions. Yeah, what's your store?
How much are you going to sell this thing you're holding for?
Then they go and check our eBay store, and then they see the kind of prices we charge, and then I think that would change it's a negotiation tactics that we use. So.
Yeah.
But it's all good. Okay. So this week's questions, we have a small handful of them. A lot of people are sending in questions without any names, and they're like 2-word questions. We just don't have time to kind of deal with people who aren't going to put time into writing a coherent question. And also, remember too, the blog has its comments. There's a lot of smart people in those comments, so it doesn't need to be us to answer them. You can just throw it on the blog, and they'll help you out too. So the first question's from Darla. How do you deal with people who bid on your items, win, and then don't pay? Is it okay to leave negative feedback? First of all, a seller can no longer leave negative feedback. So
right. Well, in essence, you would be leaving negative text, but a positive rating, because you cannot leave like a red negative.
But a buyer can actually get that taken down if your text is it's negative.
No, or negative at all. If you say buyer did not pay, right, they can get that taken down. I
mean, really, the main thing is that if someone doesn't pay for either auction or if they made you an offer and you accepted, the only thing you can do is just do an unpaid item. And
so what we do is, so this has been our technique the last couple months. We write to them for a couple days. Say, hey, we accepted your offer. You can pay. We'll ship it tomorrow. I'll do that for like 2 days. And then Jay will send a personal appeal.
At the same time, we also ask for their information.
For their contact information. You can ask for their phone number. And eBay sends them and sends you their phone number and them your phone number.
And that's only to maybe let them know that you have their info, and maybe they'll get a phone call from you.
And then at that point, when I ask for their information, I do an unpaid item. And a lot of times it's worked. People will pay.
Like we had 2 people that made offers and didn't pay, and we did this for each of them, and one of them paid.
Right.
And the other one still hasn't paid and probably won't. So it's just, honestly, it's just the way it is. And I know, especially if you're a seller and every sale is really a precious thing, it's just the way it is. And no matter how long we've been on eBay, it has not changed. There's just always people that won't pay, and that's just it.
Yeah. Okay, the next question is from Grenda, and they ask, how do you tell a print from a serigraph or a poster? I think what you're asking is, how do you tell like a repro print from like an original painting or an original like etching print?
Now, I find that you're always good at this because I'm always being fooled, but you're able to look at it and check for the dots. Is that right? So reproduction prints are generally what's called an offset lithograph. So that means, just so you know, when I was in high school, I went to a vocational high school, and I studied graphic arts or graphic design. We would make prints from photographs, or original art. So what happens is they take a photograph of the original piece of artwork, and then they make it into like dots, tiny little dots that can be printed on an offset lithograph printer. The best way to know is you look very, very close. And if you see that the image is made up of tiny little dots, then that is a reproduction print. And you can use a magnifying glass is really helpful.
Like I'm going to start bringing around my jeweler's loop, which I have, and I'm going to be one of those annoying people at the auctions with the jeweler's loop, looking at items. But that lets you know right away that this is not an original painting or a sketch. This is actually a reproduction.
Okay, the next question is from Philip H. He says, can you tell me how you price items? How do you find items that you're going to sell for 10 times the price that you get from Goodwill. And I actually talked to Philip on email, and we've talked about this before, but I find this is just, it's one of those topics for it's new people that just needs to be kind of talked about again. And that's just, a lot of this comes with experience. I mean, number one, if you're only buying from Goodwill, it's getting tougher and tougher to make that kind of it's profit, because Goodwill, from what I've been reading online, like, you know, they aren't ignorant of all of us online. They probably read people's blogs and watch all the YouTube videos of people going to Goodwill and they buy stuff and they show how they flip it. So I find Goodwill prices keep going up and up. So, you know, if you're buying from Goodwill only, I find you're probably not going to make as good a profit if you buy elsewhere.
Right.
I mean, the other thing is just from experience. You know, we've been doing this for a while, and we can see items, and we just know generally how much we've sold that same item in the past.
Right.
So we now know what things to avoid. I mean, we don't buy things that we know we'll only get $8 for. It's just not really, it's worth the time.
And, you know, you learn really fast. I mean, if you buy something and you're like, wow, this isn't worth anything, I mean, you're never going to get that item again. So that, you know, or you buy a pair of boots and they sell for $200. You're like, great, I will always get those.
And, you know, it's always just an experiment. Like we talked about, it's last week, we went to an auction and bought a bunch of art, and I think we probably overpaid for a couple pieces. I mean, we've never really lost any actual money. What happens is we'll sell it for either close to what we paid, or we might make a little bit more, you know, which doesn't really make it as worth our time, but we get that experience.
Right. Now we know. Like, I bought a print that, and this goes with that last question, I bought a reproduction print that I thought could possibly be an actual etching because I couldn't get close enough to it. And I was wrong. I paid pretty much what the print is worth.
Right.
So...
But we hope to sell it for a little more because it's framed. It's
framed and matted and with glass, so that brings up the value.
But it's an experiment.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's next question.
Okay, Let's Be Friends asks, can you discuss shipping heavy items like speakers? Do you use freight, and how do you find the best shipping price? It seems crazy expensive. Speakers. And when you say speakers, I think you're talking about the 1970s, like, speakers that are, like, almost as tall as me.
Yeah, I mean, we really have not... I mean, we've done a bit of a research into selling freight, and this is when the... a USPS won't ship anything over, 70
pounds.
So, you know, if you get a piece of furniture or, something really heavy or something really big, because a USPS will have
size limits,
a size constraint. And we've looked at freight like at FedEx, but it just becomes really complicated where you have to... They say they want it on a pallet, and they want it, like, kind of tied down a certain way,
and you have to like wrap blankets around it. And I mean, it just, for something like that, I mean, what we've done, like, we have desks and chairs and like random stuff like that. We do local pickup on eBay,
and we've done relatively well. I mean, you know, we've sold, I think, 2 things doing its local pickup. And or what we'll do is on the listing, we will say, we will ship this through whoever, but you need to figure that out. There are other sites online where someone can go and negotiate a price with an independent contractor, and they'll go and pick up the item and then bring it to you. But you know what? We like the buyer to deal with that.
So what we say on the listing is, you know, we'll gladly ship this freight, but you have to arrange it with the shipper and have them pick it up. We will be available for this to be picked up. You know, we will, you know, work with the shipping company. We've never done it, though.
Right, because, you know, people normally just come and pick it up. And when these kind of items we're talking about are ones we're selling for $500 or more, you know, if we were doing this for items that were of a lower price, it wouldn't be.
It just wouldn't be worth the time. I mean, it's just too much.
But I love to hear if other sellers out there do a lot of freight and see how they do.
I would love to hear about that.
It's maybe they figure out a way where it's not as hard as it seems to us.
Okay, so the next question is something we talked about a little bit before, is from Todd. And he says, you've always talked about thrift in your lifestyle. You once mentioned not eating out a lot and buying groceries in bulk. What other ideas can you share on living a frugal life in order to have more independence?
I mean, number one, what we did was we figured out like what's most important to us. And most important to us is our time.
Yes.
You know, I love to wake up and that day, like today, I can plan any way I want. No one tells me what I have to do. And that's my a luxury. Like that's my wealth.
Like I don't need a BMW. I need my time.
So, you know, and one thing we do is that, you know, there are other things that we've just figured out just aren't as important to us. And that's like we don't eat out a lot. I mean, we live in a little small country town, so
there's nowhere to eat.
There really aren't a lot of places to eat out. But, you know, we eat out every so often, but it's really not a regular occasion. And I'd love to hear other people, if they have this experience. We buy our groceries in bulk. There's like there's a store close by where they buy stuff that is near expiration date.
Yeah, so it's an outlet. It's like a grocery, like discount outlet.
And they sell groceries crazy cheap.
Yeah, it's insane.
And so we always bulk up because we have like a couple of freezers and we have a good pantry. And so we cook all of our meals. We eat like kings and queens, and we eat healthy too.
And I mean, a lot of it also has to do with bringing your monthly costs down. Just for example, like electricity in our house, like we invested more money into LED lights, so those take almost no electricity. I got rid of our dryer. So I just hang dry everything. So that takes up no electricity.
And when we redid our house, we insulated everything really tight. So our house stays really warm for a long time.
And we heat with a wood stove only. Right. So we don't use electricity. So we don't pay for any of that stuff.
And then the other thing is, you know, cars can be a very expensive part of people's lives. And, you know, we have an old car and an old truck, and you know, they're paid off. They're both paid off, and we just keep them, you know, we keep them oiled, and they've been doing great for us, and it's fine, you know.
I think for us, it's just all about keeping costs low. As a greater lifestyle thing, I mean, we lived in Boston, New York, San Francisco before we moved to a rural area. And the reason we moved to a rural area is because we were spending so much money in rent that we thought, 2 years rent, we could buy a house in a rural area and never have to pay rent again. So that was like the big, you know, thrifty thing that we did.
And then, you know, when we do spend we spend money on the other thing we love to do, and that's to travel. So, you know, every a year we take 1 or 2 big trips somewhere, and that's where we'll spend our money, and that's what we love to do. And we don't need fancy clothes or anything. Those are the things that, for us, we've determined is our wealth.
So the next question is from CES or CES, and they ask, what are the best days and times to list or end auctions? What days do you sell the most through Buy It Now? I always thought people are too busy on weekends, but I seem to sell the most over the weekend. What is your experience?
Okay, I see this question all the time pop up online. It just seems like everyone who especially starts on eBay, they always ask this. And I think the answer is so simple for us. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
In our opinion. I'm sure people who are really into auctions, like they have a system, but I feel it's like people who gamble at a racetrack. It's just like they have these systems that make sense to them, and that's great. But ultimately, for us, it doesn't really matter, especially when we do Buy It Now. Everything is available anytime for anyone to find it and buy it at any time. I've tried to develop a system, like, are people mainly buying Sundays or Tuesdays? And a couple weeks in a row, it might be Sundays are a hot day, and then we'll have like a month where Sundays suck, you know? And so I find like there's no magic to it. There's no there isn't like a secret code that you have to break in order to sell more on eBay. What you do is, in our experience, is just list a lot, build up as big of an inventory as you're able to handle, take great pictures, and describe things properly with proper keywords. So when someone does that search on Google or on eBay, your item is the one that's going to pop up because it's got the most keywords that attract it. And that's it.
That's it. There's no secret. There's no secret day. There's no secret formula. That's it.
Right.
And you just list stuff.
And I just find all those conversations like on the eBay forums about the new eBay search engine.
What's it called? Cassini or whatever?
Cassini.
Who cares?
And they're trying to figure out how to like beat it and how it's destroying their store. And it's just like, it's like, it's been around for a while now. We still sell plenty. So I don't know. You know, we all have a certain amount of energy. Pick where you put your energy. And for us, it's just
listing.
Finding good items and listing good items and treating customers well.
Exactly.
Okay, last question.
Last question is from Linda. I would be interested to know how many eBayers use social media to promote their eBay sales, like Pinterest or whatever.
This is a interesting question. We've kind of talked about it before. And for us, I mean, we are around on social media, but I really don't know how much it.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, Twitter, I just have Twitter automatic. It's kind of like a total spam Twitter, just because it's my listings as I list them. But Pinterest, I've really loved Pinterest, but I have not been able to like say, okay, someone repin this and then it got bought. It feels like that. Like I'll see someone repin some of my perfume and stuff, and then someone will buy some. So
yeah,
coincidence? I don't know.
I think strangely, Pinterest seems like the most interesting because people do gather it's groups of things. So someone will obviously be like trying to plan its mid-century room, and we'll find that they'll start pinning our stuff.
Yeah.
And, I can imagine that would lead to a sale. But eBay, as far as I can tell, does not give any good stats on where this traffic is coming from.
Yeah.
So honestly, we really don't spend a lot of time doing social media for our store because really, it's like I said before, it's all about the search terms, in my opinion. So put your time into describing things and putting a good title of your item, because those are the items that those are the words people will be putting into a search engine to find an item that
again, like just like we're saying, there's no magic. Like everybody, I keep hearing from people like there are all these people selling on Instagram, and there's this other site called Poshmark, which I think is horrible. Everyone's like, oh, Poshmark, it's the biggest thing. I'm like, really? I tried to sell stuff on Poshmark and nothing happened. So again, we always talk about like, if you're selling on eBay, just put your energy towards that. If you're selling on Amazon, put your energy towards that. If you're selling on both, fine. But you can't just be like all over the place.
We just, we only have a certain amount of hours in the day. And, we just like to spend that actually a listing on eBay, and any other time is spent, making YouTube videos about our store. Like that stuff doesn't make sense to me because that's not how I shop online. I shop online because I have an image of something I want. I go to a search engine and I put in some keywords to hopefully I find that thing. And the things I find are the people that have put time into making titles that are going to grab me.
Right. And the proper info and good photos and all
right. And then once I see that item, I look at the photos and I look for the people that have really taken good photos, and a lot of them. So I know I'm going to get something that I appreciate.
Right. So the next podcast is an interview with Sue, and she runs a blog called eBay RV.
Yeah, so
.blogspot.com.
And we're excited to, talk to her because she is doing the thing that I've always kind of thought about, is that what if you were to sell from an RV and you were just driving around the country buying and selling things
out of your trailer,
that's
your camper.
No house, no anything. So we talked to her and figure out how she does it.
Yeah, so check her out. She's really cool. Okay.
See ya.
Bye.